Jacob Wilson is a mechanical engineer who specializes in developing engine components for fighter jets. He finds satisfaction capturing the engines in action with military demos during air shows. Join us as we delve deeper into jet engines and long-exposure aviation photography. I'm Oscar Sakaris, and welcome to the Spotters Podcast. All right, so this is episode 20, Spotters Podcast. We're joined today with Jacob Wilson. Welcome.
How's it going?
How are you doing today?
Good. Long day at work. Been a long couple months of work, to be honest. We have design reviews coming up and going through, so it's been pretty hectic. They're keeping us busy, for sure.
Yeah, I got in probably at 6:50, 7 o'clock this morning. I probably took lunch around 12 or 1 o'clock, so I've been busy. And then right after work, I walked out to the tarmac, and there's a bunch of conveyors on the ramp out there, so got a bunch of pictures of that. Yeah. I'm getting ready to go to Sun and Fun on Thursday, so I ordered another D500, the same camera that I have now, with a Tokina 11 to 20 millimeter wide angle.
Okay. So gonna man short with it. Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of walked around and saw, like, okay, how close do I have to be so I could be
right?
And I'm like, man, I am like on the nose of these airplanes to get the full shot, up close.
Yeah. So. Have you seen the Mooney anomaly? They apparently have some light painting or light projection on the plane.
So, what do you mean, like light protection?
Or what do they call it? The mapping, where it's all they have designs. Check out their
like geometric. I know they have a geometric paint job.
Yeah, they did something with the lights. Check out their Instagram page. They posted something recently with some light painting, kind of like the castle at Disney. Yeah.
Sweet.
So it's supposed to be. Someone said it's supposed to be pretty interesting with them this year, at least for the nighttime. So check that out for sure. I'm checking it out, seeing what it looks like. Sounds pretty neat.
Yeah, I'll be there Thursday night. I have a pretty jam-packed schedule. Hopefully, I'll be doing some interviews at Sun and Fun. It'll be my first year there, so I'm going to be asking some questions to the people that have been there before, and get the response, get a little B-roll going, and then make a bonus episode.
Nice. Yeah, I've been several years, and it's a lot of fun. I'm very sunburnt afterwards, but it's one of my favorite shows. It's a really fun show to go to. I haven't set up any interview stuff, but also I'm not like an interview kind of person, so I'm also like, I'd just be there to meet the pilots, not real. So see how it goes, but I'm looking forward to it. I plan on being there Saturday and Sunday, and hoping to do departures on Monday with some friends. So we'll see how it goes. But,
I leave Saturday, so after the night show, I'm then coming back home. So that's going to be a long day.
Yeah. Well, at least you're watching the night show. I mean, the night show is impressive. It's a very good one. So.
Yeah, John Carlo, he just joined in. He said, bring lots of sunscreen and water.
Yes.
He was sending me a text today. It's freaking hot up there.
Someone else said the same thing.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. We'll be severely dehydrated.
We'll see how it goes. I don't know if we could bring in water, but I don't see what the issue is.
I've not had issues previous years. I have 2 really big containers that hold ice all day, and I've never had issues bringing those in, and I usually end up buying 4 or 5 bottles of water anyway, so still getting their money's worth out of it. So
they're getting their money's worth, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And well, we got a pretty jam-packed episode today.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking a lot about engineering, some science in there. If you get lost, don't worry. We'll pick it up again and we'll talk about night photography and the long exposures. I got my notes. So if you see me looking away, I got my notes here. So you had put in the podcast channel all these engines that, F-15s, F-22s, C-5 engines, they're all made by Pratt & Whitney. Is there any engines that you may have, engineered parts for or worked on directly?
I have done a little bit of work on the B-52 engine, which is the TF-33, and that is more, not so much design work. One of the things a lot of people don't realize with engineering is there's not just the design aspect, there's also sustainability, there's also dealing with technology increases with an old design, and that's what we're running into with the TF-30s that were made so long ago, that inspection methods have gotten better, and now they're basically the issue was, well, inspection's now showing this blade is failing in the drawing. Like, well, we've been making it for 50 some odd years, so it's fine. Well, so there was a lot of that. So I've done some work on that, a little bit, same issue with the F-100, a little bit, which is the F-15 and F-16 engine. But I spent 3 years on another engine that's not out there yet, so can't say what it was. And I spent 5 years in tool design. One of the things a lot of people don't realize is there's a lot of custom-made tools for engines. So basically, if you have one part, you're going to have 2 to 3 custom-made tools. I mean, these things take thousands of pounds to put together, pull apart. You're not just using a wrench. A lot of custom-made stuff. So I spent 5 years in that. And then the last 2 or 3 years, it's been working on the ECU, the engine core upgrade for the 35, the F-135 engine. Yeah.
Here I was going to say like engine control unit, but I guess that's not.
No, they're updating the core area, so all the compression and all that. They're working on that. So different reasons, different upgrades. They're always upgrading things.
Yeah.
Even on something like the F-100, was that from the 70s?
Yeah.
70s, 80s. They're still updating that and making changes, doing work on it. So a lot of that, I really enjoyed tool design when I was in there. A lot of turnaround and front to back design. It's a lot faster paced.
Are you guys making like a 4-foot long torque wrench or something like that? Or like a socket wrench?
More like using plates and cylinders and things to use a hydraulic cylinder that could pick up your car.
Sweet.
To pull parts apart, stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of things. Yeah. A 4-foot torque wrench. No, then you got to get into a machine that actually does it for you, which I've also worked on.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That has to be a pretty fun part of. I mean, working on the engines are always awesome. Designing better aerodynamic fins for and I guess I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. But aerodynamic fins, maybe coming up with prototypes, lighter materials, and then you coming up with a tool design. And here, Pratt & Whitney is selling the engine to the manufacturer of this aircraft. And then you're getting that extra little, hey, by the way, to fix those engines, you're going to need this tool.
Yeah. I mean, you're very compartmentalized just because jet engines are very complex. I mean, I spent 3 years on one part. And I was part of a team. So it wasn't just me. It was 5 to 10 people spending 3 years of their work life
for that one part.
On one part. Yeah, and currently I'm on a team and doing 5 parts, and that's been a few years, and people were on it several years before I joined, and expected to be on it several more years. So it's a lot of stuff. I mean, you have parts that are very much at the edge of their capability. Makes it fun, but also a lot of paperwork. So.
Yeah. I know it might not be the same, but I was on this work group for a new air traffic display system last year. So I was on it for, I think it was like 4 months. Because the person, I was like filling in for the person that's normally supposed to be on it. But that system has been in design for the last 10 years.
Okay.
and there's been a handful of 20 to 30 people that are come on and off at different times to put their input on there. I was a subject matter expert for a system, and when my time was done, it was done, and I just went on to the next project, So I'm sure it could be the same way, but here you're having a long-term commitment to this one part.
Right. And I mean, it kind of comes down to what you're doing. Tools, my concept, detailed design, drawing and stuff, that was a couple weeks. And then I wouldn't see it any time, or it'd leave my table. When I worked for my previous company, they had a machine shop, so I did get to sometimes see the tools on the floor after they were made. Engine parts are a lot longer between design and manufacturing. I mean, parts can take years to make.
Yeah, definitely. You basically mentioned the B-52 TF-33. That's 50 years in production making and maintaining those engines. You have to spend that much, probably, I don't even know when that engine was actually, prototyped. Mm-hmm. If this thing has been in service for 50 years, I'm sure these engines have been designed at least, 10, 25 years prior to that?
Yeah. Let's see, the original F-100 for the F-15 and F-16 is, mid-70s on the first run. Things were faster paced at that time. I think design was more in the 60s. It used to be a lot faster paced, the engineering, for various reasons. It slowed down a little bit, but it's still very tedious. A lot of people don't realize how tedious engineering is, just in general. Like I said, you're spending 3 years on one part. You're taking every little,
tolerance.
Yeah, and we're talking tolerances that are like thicknesses of sheets of paper kind of things that you can't see with the naked eye, but you could fail apart by something being out of shape, very, very small amount. And I guess the kind of segue a little to the photography, that's part of what got me into aviation photography. I always liked aviation as a kid, and then photography I always enjoyed, but it was a lot of going on a road trip with the family, taking those family vacation photos. Every time my family went, they were known for making fun of me for taking a picture of rocks. I mean, it was the Grand Canyon, so I think I have a valid reason there. But so I enjoyed photography, and then with engineering, it's very tedious. So you a lot of times lose sight of what you're doing, and that's one of the reasons I really enjoy going to the air shows, because it's seeing what you're doing, in its final product and seeing how cool it is on what these machines can do. So that's where I really started getting into aviation photography in particular. It was after I got married and after I got out of college and started working full time. I was just kind of like, these things are dumb. And then I go to an air show. I'm like, no, these are really cool. Okay, one of those.
Yeah. You're bringing all that hard work. You're seeing your hard work years, in full production, your accomplishment. It's like, hey, you know what? I might have not worked on this whole engine, but I've worked on a key component.
Right.
It's needed for it to afterburners or, whatever it is.
Yep. And I mean, you see it on a computer for so long that it's this static piece that you have colored in CAD green or purple or whatever, and to see it actually running and operating is really cool.
Definitely. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I guess very satisfying to see that.
Yeah, so it's really cool being able to see it all, being a design engineer, I get to see the design, I get to see it on paper, I get to see it on a computer. At the air shows, I get to see it running. I get to see how it operates. I get to see how cool it moves and everything like that. And then also for where I work currently, I've had to do some, basically they tear apart an engine and they send engineers to do inspections kind of thing. And I had to go out to Tinker, where they tear apart F-119 engines, the Raptor engines. And so getting to see the hardware just sitting on the floor in different pieces. Some of it good, some of it damaged. I think one of the coolest parts was walking by an engine that was torn apart because supposedly the maintainer guy on base left the flashlight in the intake.
Whoa.
So they turned the engine on and sucked the thing in. So you got to see the parts all shredded up and stuff. And that was as cool as seeing a brand new part.
Wow.
You know?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So stuff like that, you kind of seeing the full range, I guess, of the hardware. Photographing, it's a lot of fun. It's fun. It's a challenge also. I think that's one of the reasons I enjoy it.
So I guess a follow-up question. When this engine is completely put together, I guess it's prototype, are they putting that on a test bed and they're running it? Is it full size prototype or is it scaled down? How is that normally worked out?
It depends on the engine. It depends on what they're doing. I've done some design work for what called rigs, where we're testing these specific components, and it's either scaled down or a partial engine or something like that, and they're testing very particular components. When you get to the full engine, like the 135 upgrade, it's going to be full-size engines. They're going to test several of them. Some of them, I don't know where they're testing them. I know we do have test stands at West Palm. Actually, I pull in the morning, and you can hear them off in down the road testing. Yeah. They're just winding up. Sometimes they'll have the afterburner going, and you'll just kind of hear them through the trees. It's fun to hear. And we've taken some tours out there. Pratt's very large campus. Because a lot of us are sitting in our desks and we don't get around too much, they offer a lot of tours twice a year. You walk through the shop, you walk through the assembly floor, and then also you get to go out to the test stands, and a lot of times they'll have one running and
cool.
You get to see it. Yeah, it's pretty neat, and I would love to show people for obvious reasons where cameras aren't allowed, but
yeah,
it'd be great showing some people if I could. I wish I could, but it is what it is.
So has the industry evolved with sustainable components? Does Pratt & Whitney do any 3D printing? Is everything casted? How are these really lightweight fins kind of manufactured?
There's a lot of
talk about
right. You're right. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of different methods. Obviously, there's pieces just machined from forgings. Parts are cast and then machined. I know there is talk and work with 3D printing. I'm not on that side to even know kind of how that, what process they're in or what stage they're in to have it to work. Or what parts, but I know they're looking at stuff like that. Any little thing to keep the business, going.
Yeah,
they're gonna look right. So, it's a whole host of different manufacturing processes and stuff I don't even know. One of the cool things with engineering is it's a job where you're always learning. So it's almost daily that someone will tell me something, and I'm just. You can do that? Like, I didn't know that was even a thing. And they're like, yeah, how do you think they made these holes? Like, I don't know. I had no idea how they made these. And that's a pretty normal response. It doesn't matter if you've been in the field 5 years or 50 years. You're learning something about what you're doing, about a process, or even just software. I was one guy in the office. He's been around since the Blackbird engine. He talked about the J58 rattling the building and stuff, and I'm teaching them. Yeah, it sounds like we really missed out by not being able to see that thing fly.
Yeah.
He said it was the loudest engine they've ever had. You could feel the building rattle while they were out at the test stands, which is miles away. But yeah, so he's been around that long, and I'm showing him how to use software. Stuff like that. So it's always learn. It's a job where you learn a lot all the time, which makes it interesting. Yeah. Sometimes stressful, but interesting.
You had posted a ton of photos in the channel. If anyone's not in the channel, I'm always trying to get people on there, the guests, to share some posts, share some photos. So you pretty much shared this hallway J58 engine for the SR-71 Blackbird.
Mm-hmm.
This thing it still looks, it still looks badass just from without the skin wrapped around it. When I went to maintenance school in high school, I'm working at air traffic organization now, but when I got into aviation, I started maintenance school. We had, I guess they were sponsored by Pratt and Whitney also. So the only engines that we had throughout the school on stands were JT8s. They were for 707, 720s, specifically 707 and 727s. And then I find out that one kind of translated to the JT8A, which I'm like, wait a second, a 727 engine that's on the side of the tail used to be inside of an A6 intruder?
Yeah.
It's so mind-boggling. I'm here thinking, okay, where can I find this F100 engine besides an F-15, F-16? It's on the X-47 Bravo that UCAV.
Yep.
Have we used this engine in any commercial applications? Or is this strictly military?
I think that one's military, but I'm trying to remember exactly. So the 117 is on the C-17, I believe. And there's a commercial variant of it.
Yeah.
It's very clear. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not in the commercial world at all, so I don't know much about that other than hearing about the issues with geared turbofan and them working stuff out there. Yeah. And the sustainability on commercial side. But also the same thing with the TF-33 is in the B-52 is military, but there's JTD-9 or something like that, which is like a commercial variant. As far as
Has Pratt & Whitney secured that contract to basically redo the engines? I know GE was talking about, or Rolls-Royce, to bid on the B-52 engine upgrade.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that went because, like any business stuff, engineers are very low on the business side. It's like someone tells us, hey, make this, and we make it. And someone else secures the funding. But also I know that there's, hey, we won the bid. Oh, well, then the lawyers get involved and say it's unfair or something like that. So yeah. I think I remember hearing about the Rolls-Royce winning something with the B-52, but I don't know if that is like a down the road change because I know that we are still doing a lot with that engine. I just don't know if it's one of those like, oh, we got 15 years or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But that's all over the place. I say that the F-100 is on the F-16 and F-15, but I do know that there's a lot of GE engines equivalencies on those planes. I think the only plane that's strictly Pratt is the 22 and the 35 right now. Yeah, I think all the others have GE equivalents, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if they share information. I'm guessing they'll share some information, but most of it's going to be proprietary.
Yeah. So actually, we had a talk about this kind of recently. The only real information that's shared freely between the two companies is when it's a safety issue. They say they don't, they don't get proprietary on safety. So if, hey, we're seeing cracking in this design, this thing, they'll share that information. But outside of that, it's very competitive.
Yeah, for sure.
From what I've been able to understand.
So you've transferred to photography because you stuck looking at AutoCAD and look at these components, and you needed to go out and basically see where these engines have ended up. You love aviation photography. You've done some other photography, but this is a Spotters podcast, so we got to talk about a little bit about aviation, right?
Yeah.
In the channel, once again, hey, go check out the channel. You sent 27 photos. Your favorite 27. There's a ton of photos here from Sun and Fun. Sun and Fun just kicked off. Just kicked off today, and it goes on until Sunday. With maybe departures either Sunday or Monday. Man, you got some killer photos. There's photos here from Stewart. You got that wall of fire with the A-10 in here.
Yeah.
You have F-22. You have the C-17. Thunderbirds. Go check it out in the channel.
Yeah, those are a few of my favorites. I didn't want to get too bad with
These are pretty epic.
bombarding. Thank you. It's a lot of fun.
So with Son of Fun coming up and going on right now, what is something that you're looking to catch this year that you haven't caught in previous years that you've done?
I don't know. I know that video I saw with the Anomaly recently where they were talking the light mapping. That looks really cool. So I definitely want to try and see what I can get with that lighting setup. Depending on where they have it set up, maybe with some fireworks. I don't know. Last year was actually the first year I tried doing the fireworks and
Man, you killed it.
I was surprised because speaking of like long exposure stuff, I've never been very good at capturing fireworks. I try every 4th of July and they all look horrible. So I've never been very good at it. And I've taken pictures at the night show previously, but like right up to the fence, you know, and just shooting the show. And this was the first year, or last year was the first year where I went back and used a jet as a foreground subject. And that was just from some friends who do it and some other people I saw who captured awesome pictures. I had no idea about the laser lights at all, and I had no idea how they turn out. And I put my camera on a tripod real low, got everything framed up, and then I have a remote trigger that I just set on bulb and just hold it down. I'm like, okay, that looks good. And yeah, that looks good. And that was how I did the show, and just hope something come out, and a few did. So
yeah,
happy with
so you have it's the Zombie F-16.
Yep.
That's in your foreground. You have blue and green lasers with like fireworks in the corner. And then you have another one with someone streaking through.
Yeah.
The fireworks show display.
I think that's a
Ghost
I think it's Ghost Rider, right? Yeah. I know, and one of the reasons I like long exposure night photography is you kind of don't know what you're gonna get. You know what I mean? I love the digital camera because you can roll back your shutter speed and frame things up a lot easier than optical viewfinder. But no matter what, you don't know what you're gonna get, and I find that a lot of fun, to the mystery of it. And one of them I actually did not post in the channel, but I've posted online, is Ghost Rider did a loop behind the Zombie 16, and it happened to be right above the canopy.
Oh man!
So it just looks like a halo. Sweet. Above the plane. Yeah, and that I had no idea. I'm just snapping away, and since my perspective is different than my camera, because I try and enjoy the show, even though you're behind the camera. Yeah. Sometimes you just miss the show. It is, it's like that. So that was also part of why I went with a remote trigger, so I could watch the show and, take some shots while still enjoying it. So,
are you setting this for like a specific time frame? Or are you you're just doing the different time frames, like 4 seconds here, 6 seconds here, kind of?
Yeah, I put it all in manual. I put my ISO locked in at what I thought would work, and I tried a few different settings, and then I put my aperture locked in at what I wanted. That one I think I kept at a large number because I wanted full focus. Yeah, depth of field. And then, but yeah, as far as the shutter speed, it was me just kind of guessing. I just would hold it down, count off. I didn't so much count as I looked at the fireworks.
Yeah.
So it was like I saw the firework going up, and I hit it, and then it popped. And then once the firework dissipated, then I'd let go. And then I just check my viewfinder every so often and be like, okay, this one's dark, too dark, too dark. And I just kind of, felt it out a little bit. Like I said, I've never been good at firework photography. Some people are fantastic at that. Not been my forte. So it was very much trial and error, and it was a Bob Ross moment on a very happy accident.
Yeah, happy accidents, that's for sure. Those two pictures are pretty epic at sunset with the Lakeland Tower behind it. Also pretty awesome. That's at like dusk. And then you have another one with some people in the foreground and like sunset again, almost twilight, with some smokes, trails.
Well, yeah, is that the one with the people sitting on the A10?
Oh, is that? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the age.
So right above the engine is actually Cooper and
Yoast.
Samantha. Yeah, Yost. Yeah. So yeah, I
Cooper's
actually
mentioned. Hey, everyone, Cooper's mentioned.
yeah. So I that's actually them on there, and just they liked it, and they were like, "Can you send me a copy?" So just
Yeah, yeah.
email it to them, and I said my only requirement was that they send me pictures if they print it out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's actually them sitting on there. So every once in a while, you get some cool shots with your friends or people you know, and it makes it even a little more special of a shot.
Definitely. Um, what's your gear that you're using for your long exposures? What
My gear.
cameras are you shooting with?
I shoot with the EOS R. Wouldn't be my first choice, but beggars can't be choosers. Since I won that in a sweepstakes.
Hey,
So
free cameras are normally the best
exactly,
cameras.
exactly. I'm like, it is the best camera I've ever gotten because I didn't have to pay for it. So I use an EOS R, and then those shots with the Viper and the A10 at sunset, those pulled out shots, I'm pretty sure are with my RF 24105. I don't have like a special setup for long exposure. I know some people do because some cameras are a lot better at night shots than others. Although I have found that the Lightroom denoise AI is just incredible at cleaning stuff up. Actually, that picture of Cooper and Yost, it's super grainy and very rough. And then after I applied that, the sky's just butter smooth and
Awesome.
everything. So it's an incredible, uh, especially for someone like me who doesn't have a very specific setup for night shots. I just kind of roll with what I have.
Yeah, I was for I mean a long time I was shooting and editing on Lightroom 4 because I bought it and I was like, I am not gonna pay a subscription fee because I bought this and now I can't use it anymore. And then, I mean, last month I went to go try to upgrade and my computer said, hey, by the way, you have run out of space.
Yeah.
And I was like, great, I can't put on Lightroom 4 anymore. So
Okay.
I had to switch over to Creative Cloud. But holy cow, that denoise,
Yeah.
I went from Lightroom 4 to Lightroom 22 overnight. And I
Yeah.
was just like, what am I supposed to be doing here? How's this better picture? Like, what's going on here?
Essentially,
I thought
it's
I was
essentially,
really causing a detriment to my photos by, bringing in a high quality image into a low quality software at the time. Now that I'm using Creative Cloud, I'm like, hey, Adobe, I'm not sponsored, but hey,
yeah.
I don't mind a free
I,
month here and there.
yeah. I mean, I don't like paying subscription either, but I kind of had a similar situation. I had a Canon Rebel T6i. So those raw photos were CR2, I think was the
Yeah,
file.
yeah,
And I had an old standalone Lightroom. I mean, it was newer than 4. I think it was like 10 or 12 or something. Um, and then when I went to the EOS R, it was the CR3 one file format. And that was the point where they did not even offer standalone Lightroom anymore. And the version I had wasn't compatible with the new file format. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm buying the monthly. Wasn't happy about it at first, but I do like the new stuff. I mean, the Denoise AI is a life changer for anyone doing sunset
yeah.
shots or even night shots. I've now have shots of a Titan aeroshell that I could not. They were, they weren't interesting before because they were so grainy, and now they're just so smooth
Wow.
that it's nice. So between that and then the masking tools, those alone are worth the upgrade.
I was talking to, I think it was Sam, Julius, and
and Marvin last year in December. We were doing that roundtable. We're talking about AI
Yeah.
and photography and editing, and the masking tool. Man, even up to last month,
Yeah.
I was like with a magnetic lasso on
Yeah.
every little edge, and now I could just go and say, okay, select subject.
Subject or
I'm like,
style. Yeah.
90% complete. Awesome.
Yeah.
It took 2 minutes,
And
instead of like 4 hours behind.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I use that all the time, especially with military jets, because down here in Florida we have very blue skies, and especially when you go to the beach shows, we have very blue skies, a lot of blue water, and I like to make that blue sky pop. But then in the process, especially with military jets, you end up with that ugly blue gray to their gray paint.
Yeah.
And I like pushing it a hair over on the yellow side to give it the nice yellow gray. So all the time I'll, edit my photo so either the sky or the jet looks good depending on what is easier to work with at the moment. And then I'll just mask it and pull the other thing the other direction. And it makes a nice contrast to it. And especially for me, I really don't like that ugly gray, the blue gray tint on the military jets. I like the yellow gray a little bit more, which you get a lot easier at Sun and Fun and stuff like that. But when you color correct for the sky and make it blue, it just makes the jet too blue to me. Or vice versa. You make the jet look good and then the sky is like a pale blue that to me doesn't look as good as like a nice royal blue look. That's that editing preference that everybody has. Everyone has their own little style.
You're using like it's almost like a drop. It's like 3 little wheels on Lightroom. One's like color select for shadows. The other one's color select for highlight. You're using that tool to kind of like bring out the highlights a little bit.
No, not so much. A lot of times, like, let's say everything is really blue, like Miami show, right? Mm-hmm. So I will edit the picture to where the blue in the sky, the blue in the water look really good. And then I'll put a mask on the jet. And then usually there's a tint or a hue slider. I can't remember which one it is. But one of them is the yellow-blue slider. And I'll just push it a little more to the yellow. Not a lot, maybe 5, 6. Just enough to kind of pull it off the blue-gray. A little more on the yellow gray, but then I still get the pretty blues of the water and the sky.
Gotcha.
And I'm not washing out that blue and making it more yellow. So it kind of helps separate the subject in the background a little bit.
Little contrast, little depth in there.
Yep, exactly. So I'll do that on a lot of my shots. But it depends on how the shot is set up and also how well the masking tool works. Sometimes it's easier editing for the jet and then masking the sky and making the sky blue on the slider and vice versa. So, but yeah, that's a little bit of my editing style.
Yeah. So what are some of the differences when taking photos? I mean, daylight versus night. You're just pretty much enhancing the colors a little bit more during the daylight and having a little bit longer of an exposure at night.
Yeah. So what's worked for me, not necessarily saying it's the best, but what's worked for me is I just let my ISO go all the way up to what I have it cut off at like the 32,000. So it's not too high to completely ruin the shot, but it's still really high. And then my aperture is all the way open. And then my shutter speed is just rolled back enough that I'm not tossing every shot. I roll it down a little bit.
You're talking night.
Yeah, for night shots. For night,
like 32,000 is pretty high even for night shots.
No, for the night shots, I'll do that so that way I can get the jets in there, like that F-18 going across the tower. I think I shot that at like 1/20th. So the shot was really dark, and then in Lightroom I pull it up. Yeah, so I've kind of accepted the too dark of a picture, and then I edit it later. Some people work a little differently. I've just found that's how that works for me. And then daytime is just, is it a jet or is it a prop? That usually messes with my shutter speed, which one I want, whether I'm going to pan it or whether I'm just going to a sharp jet turning a corner, that kind of thing.
Cool. Let's see. We did pretty good time here.
Just through the questions.
Ran through my questions pretty fast, man. Let's see. You kind of talked a little bit about wanting to be a roller coaster engineer, designing roller coasters. Now you sent some photos in channel of roller coasters at Universal. How did those long exposures kind of differ from your aviation photos?
Some of those were tough because you can't really do a tripod for a lot of them. The tripod is, I think you even asked about how to get in there. Disney, I've had no issues bringing a tripod and camera. Universal, when I brought in my tripod, the guy at the metal detector was kind of like, looking at his manager, and his boss was like, "Yeah, let him go." But then another guy yelled at me for it. So it's a little hit or miss. You got to be willing to walk it back to the car in case that happens. But I've gotten in each time. You just can't look too professional, which I found out the hard way when security made me pack up. But you are hand-holding a lot, but at the same time, even though it's a night shot, everything in Universal, at least, is really well lit up in a very, very contrasty kind of way. The dark areas are very dark, but the signs and the lighting and stuff is very bright. So it's actually not that bad. It's not like trying to shoot a night show at Stewart or Sun and Fun. Like, those are dark. Those are harder to me. There's a lot of light in there because they're trying to draw your eye for stuff, and they want you to be able to see the path and all that. So it's kind of like it's slow, but it's not super slow.
Have you tried bringing like a monopod with those little tripod legs that kind of allows your camera to just stay, vertical instead of having a full triangle tripod?
So my tripod was a travel tripod.
Okay.
So it was a little smaller, and I think that's why I was able to get in. If it was one of those that, even compact is 2 feet long and all that, I don't think they'd let it in. The other trick is if you have a kid with a stroller, just putting things in the stroller gets you through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I have friends that are like, "Oh yeah, I take a wagon to the air show, and I have my chair legs are discernible from like a tripod leg,
Yeah. Yep.
They're bringing in a bunch of gear and then like stashing food underneath that too,
Exactly. We've done that with the stroller. It works out. But it's not too hard. It's not too hard to bring in a camera. You do have to be willing to rent a locker because you can't take it on the rides and stuff like that. So at least at Universal, Disney actually lets you bring your camera on a lot of rides. So we went a couple times, and the first few times I'd ride the rides for the experience, but then after a while it was
okay.
And then after a little while it was I take my camera on and try and take some pictures. So I actually have some very blurry pictures from Rise of the Resistance and a couple on ride, Disney in particular. They let stuff on. It's a lot of fun though, but you don't need anything big. Actually, you want a wide angle camera. I think I was shooting most of my stuff on the 24 range rather than the 105 because all their stuff is forced perspective. Anything that looks big and far is not as far as you think, and the camera doesn't care about the forced perspective like your eye does. So you're like, oh, this is far, and then you can't catch it all, and you're backing up. So
Yeah. Hey, Jared, welcome to the show. I'm looking at this Hulk coaster, and I could see like how it would be like a fourth perspective. I'm also seeing the actual, I guess, coaster car. I don't know what it's called.
Yep.
Coming out of the loop.
Yeah.
Which you had that nice long exposure, that blur, and it actually adds more depth to the image itself rather than just having a bare coaster.
Yeah, I don't. From what I remember, I don't want to go digging around and on the air, but from what I remember, it was more like that shot was like an 80th, so not super slow, but it was enough where I could handhold it, but I still had to pose up really good. If you have a trash can or something, try and lean on it. But yeah, I try and get slow with stuff like that to get some motion. That one loop picture that I have of Rip Ride Rocket, or the red track,
Yeah.
I haven't edited. Yeah, I haven't edited it yet, but that one I took a nice slow one, and that one the train has flashing lights on it, colored lights. So there's a really cool blur going about halfway through the thing, through the that helix. I haven't edited that shot yet. I'm so horribly behind on editing. I haven't even touched Fort Lauderdale or Miami from last year.
Wow. Man, you better get some of those photos done before this year.
No, I know. And then I had Sebring 2 weeks ago. First time shooting cars. That was a lot of fun. Different. I think I took almost 9,000 photos over 12 hours of the race. And by the time I deleted blurry ones and stuff, I think I got down to 3,000.
Holy cow. But you did a bunch of panning.
Right. I mean, I think that was 95% of the shots because, the last thing I want is to be at a race and a car look like it's parked on the track. Like I don't care for the race. I don't care for the car specifically, like I went with a friend who he follows races and follows the drivers and stuff. And it's, you're saying 5 unedited. Yeah. It's a lot. So, but yeah, I did a lot of panning that one. So I still have to edit those shots, even though I culled them down. And then actually last weekend I went to the World War II reenactment up in DeLand, which was really cool. That one I actually brought the family to. The kids liked it. It was fun trying to explain warfare to a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old in a way that's not traumatizing and stuff. This is education.
Just taking a tank to McDonald's, that's all.
Yeah, well, it was more of the guy in the middle of the field who was playing dead. My daughter's like, "What is he doing?" We're like, "Sleeping." He's
taking a nap.
Yeah, so. And I haven't even pulled those off I haven't even put those on my computer yet. Those are still just sitting on the camera.
Wow.
And yeah, so I got a bit to go through.
You got
it's too
a lot. You got a lot to edit there, man.
I know, and unfortunately, work has just been very chaotic for the last 6 months or so. So it's been hard to, find some time to do that. And then, as I told you, I got 2 young kids and I'm married, so I can't just like come home and
just
ignore the
Yeah. So, I kind of did that. I kind of feel bad. I did that today. I got home late from work. I had to grab something to eat, and then it's like, okay, I got to go into the office to get this show ready.
Yeah.
And then I still got on late. I'm posting this new. If you check the channel, there's a new heads up episode.
Yeah,
I got a special guest.
I know. I saw that before we hopped back on. I'm impressed.
Yeah, man, we're getting big now.
I know.
For everyone, I got the map for Sun and Fun here. The Mooney anomaly is going to be at. Well, I have two different. So it's at Vintage section, right south of Warbird Country. So if you find a map online, it looks like this. It has all the locations. Mooney anomaly is right there.
Yep.
I have all my stuff highlighted, but it's right there at the tip. So
that sounds about right.
Yeah, I got.
So I usually go to the far right.
Say again.
I usually go to the far right. Like if you hold up the map, yeah. So if you keep going past the active taxiway,
yeah,
there's if you keep going, like if you're facing the show, you keep going right past the Warbirds, past the military jets. You go past the active taxiway, and then there's a patch of grass and some bleachers. That's normally where I go for Saturday. I think that's probably my favorite spot for the night show in particular because you're looking towards the sunset, so you get the gold or whatever colors you're going to get, as opposed to looking towards your right where you just get the dark, blue hour stuff.
That's a good tip for anyone that wants to do a long exposure. You're going to have like 150 people out there with you. You know,
Oh,
probably
that's where
more.
we've been the last few years. So just look for me, probably Sean, Austin. We always head out there to that side. So
Yeah.
if it's the same thing
Cool.
this year, that's probably where we'll be.
I got a whole list. You know, I'm also doing media. I'm doing media for work. So I'm bouncing around the tower. I'm bouncing around, trying to get interviews for the show. Evan, I'll be there on Thursday. I arrive and I leave Saturday night. So I'm going to be everywhere. Friday, I'm going to probably be at the tower. I have to document some, controllers actually working. We got 2 controllers from our facility up there working. So
Oh, nice.
they're doing
Yeah.
arrivals, departures, lake, holding, all that stuff. So it's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah, I know everyone tries to get the tower, so that'll be pretty neat.
Yeah, I'll be out there with my like red shirt on the tower.
Awesome.
I'm gonna be on everyone's photo. It's gonna be great.
I was going to say when the Blue Angels go right behind on the diamond, well, we'll probably see you in the frame.
Hell yeah. So we're gonna wrap up here shortly. What advice would you give someone that's interested in a career in engineering?
Career in engineering, it's a lot of work. Got to be willing to work hard, willing to learn, and it's just a lot of work. You don't have to be a genius for it. You just have to be willing to do the work. I would not say I was one of the genius guys in my classes in college. I had to do a lot of work to understand the material, but it is worth it. It's a lot of hard work in college, and you work hard in your career, but it's worth it. And it's not as hard once you get past college as you'd think, and it's definitely interesting. It's a job that you'll learn something every day. So.
I can imagine it's a very rewarding job.
Yeah, very rewarding job, a lot of work. And I mean, I can't stress that enough. I've had 3-hour tests that were 3 questions. That was a lot of my midterms and finals were 3 to 5 questions for a couple hours to solve. But again, my direct messages are always open for photography or engineering. I'm happy to answer if I can. I might not get back to you right away. Don't take that personally. Sometimes I just get busy. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, just hit me up and see if I can help you out or give some advice.
Right on.
Or learn some stuff.
And so I'm gonna tag you in this video tonight, and I'll also link you on the podcast on Spotify, and the captions there. So can you let everyone know where can they find your photos?
Mostly active on Instagram, JJW Photography 1990. Same name on Facebook. Those are the 2 main ones. I do have X or Twitter or whatever, but I'm not really active on those. It's more of just posting there to post. If you want to get a hold of me, your best bet's Instagram.
Right on.
So.
Cool, man. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you today.
Pleasure talking to you as well.
It was definitely fun. We covered a lot. I hope, we didn't lose anyone there with the science talk, but it's engineering is fun. Aviation careers this year. That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be, we have a lot of great guests coming on, a lot of great guests sharing the information, their knowledge. Just like you, thank you very much coming on, sharing your knowledge. Looking forward to seeing you at the show this week.
Yeah, hopefully I'll see you Saturday. I'm sure I'll see you Saturday somewhere around there.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Jacob. Have a good night and get to some editing.
Yeah, I know. I need to. Have a good night.
All right. See you guys. Thanks for joining the Spotters